the backpack, and the boxer shorts. The morning sun began its slow climb over the suburban horizon, signaling the start of another day in the Miller household. Judy Miller stood in the kitchen, carefully assembling a brown paper bag. When Bill walked in, looking slightly disheveled as he often did before his first cup of coffee, she handed it to him with a tired but affectionate smile. She told him she had made him lunch, a gesture that Bill found really thoughtful. He thanked her, feeling a momentary wave of gratitude for the simple rhythms of their domestic life. Their peaceful morning was soon interrupted by the appearance of their daughter. Bill looked at her and then turned to Judy, pointing out that their honey looked like a teen singing sensation named Anita to the rest of his shirt. He wondered aloud if she was the lead singer of that new group he had heard about. Judy, however, was less concerned with pop culture references and more concerned with parental standards. She told her daughter there was no way she was leaving the house looking like that, declaring firmly that summer was over. As the family gathered, the oppressive heat of the morning became the primary topic of conversation. Bill asked why it was so hot out, to which he provided his own cynical historical explanation. He told his children it was because their mother and he had used a lot of hairspray in the 80s. He offered a mock apology, remembering that his hair back then was truly huge. The conversation shifted to the evening's obligations. Judy reminded Bill about the PTA meeting that night. She insisted that one of them had to go. Bill tried to deflect, telling her she was the mother, but Judy countered by saying he was the father. When Bill asked her to prove it, Judy stood her ground. She explained that somebody had to go because it was mandatory. Bill pleaded with her, saying he was really tired and had been working late all week. Judy noted that they had both been working really hard and suggested there must be some fair way to decide who would attend. In a split second of childish competition, a hand reached out. Bill claimed Judy touched the invisible marker first, but she denied it, claiming it touched her instead. Bill asked what she was doing while it was touching her, accusing her of touching it back. With a sigh of defeat, Judy called him a big baby and agreed to go. However, she set a condition. Bill would be in charge of dinner for everyone. Bill muttered a quiet damn under his breath, realizing his victory came with a culinary price. Later that evening, as Judy prepared to leave, she grumbled about the injustice of the meeting. She couldn't believe she had to go to such a stupid gathering. She confessed to Bill that whenever she went to these things, those PTA people made her feel like such a loser, as if they were the only people who truly cared about their kids. Bill agreed, noting that those parents often looked at them like they were some kind of bad parents. They reaffirmed to each other that they did care about their kids and knew exactly where they were and what they were doing. Judy bid him goodbye and headed out to face the committee. At the school, the atmosphere was thick with bureaucracy. Elise Larkin, the PTA president, was finishing up a tedious discussion about transportation logistics. She announced that they had finally sorted out the carpool drop-off problem. She explained that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, parents would drive up on Fairmount, while on Tuesday and Thursday, they would use Grant. She quickly corrected herself, realizing she had the days swapped, and joked that she almost started a war all over again. Elise thanked the parents for joining them, acknowledging that while they called the meetings fun and mandatory, they couldn't actually force anyone to come. This revelation caught Judy by surprise. After the formal announcements, Elise opened the floor for concerns. Judy, feeling a sudden surge of misplaced confidence, found herself standing up. When asked for her name, she introduced herself as Judy Miller. Although she told Elise she wasn't really a come-on-up-here type of parent, Elise encouraged her. Judy struggled to find a topic, eventually landing on the hot lunch program. When Elise asked for her thoughts, Judy gave a vague response. Elise interpreted this as a suggestion that the school should stop providing lunches for children who couldn't afford them. Realizing she had accidentally sounded heartless, Judy quickly backpedaled. She told the group she was totally flipping on the issue and supported hot lunches. She argued that no one wanted kids lugging around lunchboxes when their backpacks already weighed a ton. This comment struck a chord. Judy shared a story about her daughter falling over like a little beetle because her backpack was so heavy. Elise was impressed by Judy's passion and asked her to head a committee to lighten the backpack load. Judy, remembering her 1 month of service on the student council, felt a sense of pride. She told the room that she and her husband had actually fought over who got to come tonight, a creative interpretation of the truth that cemented her status as a dedicated parent. Back at the Miller house, the heat was becoming unbearable. Bill was sitting in his underwear, eating dinner alone, when he heard a noise. He called out for Judy, forgetting she was at the meeting. He warned the invisible presence not to touch his work clothes for the next day. His son and daughter appeared, complaining about the heat. They asked why he couldn't get the air conditioners out of the attic. Bill explained that those things weighed a ton, and it had taken him a whole afternoon to convince their mother to haul them up there in the first place. The children decided to head over to Aunt Linda's place because she had air conditioning. Bill gave them permission, happy to have fewer bodies emitting heat in the house. Aunt Linda, who was also there, told them she wanted to spend time with her nieces, but added a catch. They had to help her organize pictures for her singles cruise. Though the kids thought it didn't sound like fun, Linda reminded them they had already said yes. Later, Bill encountered his son Brian near his bedroom. He made a joke about Brian's weight and then noticed Brian was holding something. Bill suspected Brian was looking for money, but the situation was more complicated. Brian tried to sneak away with the wallet, and Bill warned him that chasing him while wearing only boxers would lead to things Brian never wanted to see. Finally, Brian confessed. He told his father he was looking for a condom. Bill was surprised but tried to stay calm. Brian insisted it wasn't for him, but for a friend named Dorian from school. He claimed all the guys carried them in their wallets. Bill, thinking he was being a cool and understanding father, decided to give him one. He even shared a tip from his own youth, telling Brian to rub the outside of the packet with sandpaper so the ring would show through the leather, making it look like it had been there a long time. Late that night, Judy returned home in a surprisingly good mood. She announced her arrival by jokingly commanding the Earthlings to throw down their puny weapons. Bill, still awake, told her he was from the planet Fanatron. Judy, slightly tipsy, shared her success. She told Bill she was a huge hit at the meeting, was now on a committee, and had gone out for drinks at Bennigan's with the other parents. She felt like she was finally one of them, a good parent. She informed Bill that Elise Larkin had invited them over to her house. Initially, Bill was reluctant, but his interest was piqued when Judy mentioned that the Larkins had mail-order steaks and a big in-ground swimming pool. Suddenly, Bill was on board with being a good parent. However, the mood shifted when Bill mentioned he had given a condom to Brian. Judy was shocked. Bill explained his theory that it was just a rite of passage and that Brian had claimed it was for a friend named Dorian. Judy was skeptical, noting that Brian was looking at the door when he came up with the name Dorian. She feared their baby boy was thinking about sex and insisted they had to talk to him. They called Brian into the room for an honest and open discussion. Bill felt awkward sitting there in his pajamas, but Judy insisted. They told Brian there was no shame in being a virgin and that sex was most appropriate between married people as an expression of love. Judy even went into detail about other ways to release sexual urges, which made Brian extremely uncomfortable. He pleaded to leave, and they finally let him go, hoping they had delayed his interest in adulthood for a while. A few days later, Bill and Judy were at the Larkins' house for a pool party. Judy was enjoying her new status, noting that the PDA people were great and laughed at her jokes. Bill agreed they weren't so bad after all. They met Elise's son, and to their horror, his name was actually Dorian. He confirmed he was a real friend of Brian's. Bill and Judy realized with a sinking feeling that Dorian was real, and they had provided a condom for him. The situation escalated when Dorian's girlfriend, Tracy, introduced herself. She thanked the Millers for Brian's help the other night, specifically for giving them something. Bill jumped in, hoping she meant chemistry notes, and called Brian a giver. Judy, however, was convinced they were helping the teenagers stay active. She insisted they tell the Larkins. Judy approached Elise and Jake Larkin, trying to be a straight shooter. She told them the story about the condom, explaining that Brian had said it was for Dorian. She expected the Larkins to appreciate the honesty. Instead, the Larkins were offended. They called Dorian over, and the boy calmly lied to his parents' faces, denying everything. The Larkins chose to believe their son, effectively turning Bill and Judy into the villains of the neighborhood. They were asked to leave, and the burgeoning friendship ended abruptly. Back at home, Bill and Judy were reeling from the rejection. They felt it was unfair that they tried to do the right thing and ended up being the ones kicked out. Suddenly, they heard music coming from upstairs. They called Brian down and found him with his girlfriend, Bonnie. Brian tried to claim they were just studying and doing research on the internet, but the Millers weren't buying it. They sat Brian down for final, serious talk. They asked him if he had any idea what having sex really meant, mentioning the risks of pregnancy and the life-changing decisions that would follow. Bill even joked about the quality of the condoms he bought to drive the point home. Brian admitted he wasn't sure if they were going to do anything, but he wanted to be prepared. Judy and Bill explained that while there is no perfect age, sex should be special and saved for someone you love and respect. They made it clear they did not want him having sex right now because it wasn't the right time. Brian seemed to understand. In a final act of parental complexity, Bill handed the condom back to Brian, telling him to take it. As Brian went back upstairs, Judy confessed she was going to cry and drink, while Bill noted it was starting to get a little nippy out there.